Hey everybody, welcome to the Bernina L460 Serger Manual. Today I want to talk about the 3-thread super stretch stitch. This is kind of an exciting stitch if you're into working with knit fabric because it's a super strong and super stretchy stitch that you can do with 3 threads. And the first thing I want to do is show you the difference between a 3-thread wide and a 3-thread super stretch. So in front of me here I have 2 samples, and you can see this one right here is my standard 3-thread wide. I've threaded my serger with the color threads that match the color guides on the L460, so it'll be easy for you to see where these threads are coming from, except for the left needle I put in white instead of yellow. So you can see from the top view here, or the top side of the fabric, you can see the white thread running along the base of the stitch connecting the blue threads, which is the upper looper. And then if I flip it over, you can see I have my lower looper thread showing across the back on the bottom. And if you have correct tension for a 3-thread wide, you shouldn't really see the needle thread on the underside of the stitch, except for these tiny little dots that meet up at the base of each looper thread. Okay, so that's what the 3-thread wide looks like. Now let's compare that to the 3-thread super stretch. Here is the 3-thread super stitch. I think the first major difference you can see is that I have 2 rows of needle threads running along the base of this stitch. So I have my white left needle and my green right needle, and then the red thread, which if you remember from looking at the 3-thread wide, that was my lower looper thread on a standard 3-thread wide stitch. The way the 3-thread super stretch stitch is formed is the lower looper thread actually wraps around front to back. We're looking at the top side of the stitch here. If I turn it over, this is how the back of the stitch looks. Okay, and you can see in the back, again, the only thing you should see with those needle threads are little dots where they meet up with the looper thread. And in this case, you can see little green dots here for the right needle and little white dots there for the left needle. Why is this stitch called the 3-thread super stretch stitch? Right. So the reason why it's called the 3-thread super stretch stitch is because it's super stretchy. Watch what happens when I stretch it. See, I can really stretch this really hard, and it stays nice. And because it has the 2 rows of needle threads, it's also just as strong as the 4-thread stretch stitch. This stitch is a nice option for when you want to complete your garment by top stitching over your seam allowance with a cover stitch or a reverse cover stitch to make it look like ready to wear, because it's less bulky in that it only has the 1 looper thread. So let's look at the setup for this stitch on the serger. And just a little spoiler alert, I'm going to show you how to use the upper looper converter today. Normally the upper looper converter is used for 2-thread stitches because you don't use the upper looper for 2-thread stitching, and you have to cover the whole of the upper looper. This is what the upper looper converter looks like, and you can find it right in your accessory tray. And I'm going to put it back in the accessory tray so I can show you how to take it out from scratch. Let me get the serger set up over here, and I'm going to show you how to thread for your 3-thread super stretch stitch. So while I have this wider view on the serger, I'm just going to bring all my threads down from the antenna and the pre-tension guide so I can zoom in so you can see the details. I'm going to thread my lower looper through the pre-tension and tension guides, and I'm going to do the same thing with the 2 needles here. So I've got my left needle and my right needle. And I love to say this over and over, but I love the fact that the serger has 2 separate guides for those needle threads to keep them from getting tangled. And if you want to reference, I am working with page, well, it's in the back of the, it's in the back where the big color threading charts are. It's chart number 2. That's what the 3 thread super stretch stitch, that's where you can find that. And really, if you wanted to know, it's actually page 46, even though it's not numbered. All right, so I've got my threads threaded through the upper tension, and I'm going to start with them all on neutral or 4. And then now I'm going to zoom in so you can see the detail with that upper looper converter, and I'm going to finish threading so you can see the detail of that. All right, so I think I fit everything into the shot that you need to see. Your upper looper converter is right here in the accessory holder in the front cover, and I'm just going to pull it out and show it to you. Okay, this is what it looks like. And the way you attach this is you go in, this part of the converter goes into this little metal holder right here. So I'm just going to slide it in, and see this little pin right here? That actually sticks out of the hole. There's like space for it to stick out over here, down here in the back of this little metal clip. So what you do is you stick it in and make sure the little metal end to it is sticking out, and I think you can see it right here. See, that's the back of the converter. And then what you do is you just snap the front of the converter into the back of the hole of the upper looper. And what that does is it allows you to serge without any thread in your upper looper, because we're not going to use the upper looper for this stitch. And then I'm going to finish threading the lower looper. And remember, we have to push this little button right here. And then I'm just going to put the thread through the back of that clip. I'm going to turn my hand wheel towards me, and that button will snap back in place, bringing the clip back behind the looper. Listen. Hear that? All right, so now the next step is I just want to thread my lower looper. And I'm just going to stick the thread through the hole of the lower looper like this. I know my hand is in the way this very second, but if I just stick it in a little bit like that, then I can use my tweezers to pull it straight back. And really, there's no need to bring the thread tail towards you and then back away. You just pull it straight to the back, because that's where it goes. Okay, and then you can see the lower looper thread comes up and over the converter. Okay, so that's how that should be organized down there. All right, and then the next thing is I obviously have to thread my 2 needles, so let me do that. All right, so I am just going to all right, so I am just going to just thread it a little bit through the hole, and then again I'm going to use my little tweezers to grab it from behind the needle and pull it straight to the back. Oops. Okay, so there's my right needle, and here is my left needle. These Bernina tweezers are really kind of unique and nice because they're at a right angle, so that allows me to come right behind the needle like this and just grab my thread and pull it to the back. It makes it very easy. All right, so there we go. Now our serger is set up for the 3-thread super stretch stitch. I'm going to stick all the threads underneath the presser foot and off to the left like this. All right, so with any stitch, I think it's easier to just start with all of your tensions on neutral. But I just want to show you here. Um, on the chart for the 3-thread super stretch stitch, it suggests that your left needle might need to be a tad tighter, and we may need to lower the tension on the looper thread because remember that one thread is wrapping front to back. So let's just stitch it with standard tension and see how it looks. Oh, also, my stitch length is 2.5 and my differential feed is 2/3 of the way between 1 and 1.5 because I'm working with a stretch knit, so I have to make the front feed dogs go just a little bit faster than the back feed dogs to compensate for the stretch when it goes under the presser foot. So let me go ahead and stitch this. Probably I don't need to have, this is a lot of fabric here. All right, so let's take a look at this and see if we have to make any tension adjustments to this. All right, so from the front, it's looking pretty good. I do think that the lower looper thread is a little bit snug because I can see it pushing against the cut edges of the fabric. Let's look at the wrong side. So from the wrong side, you can see that the little dots for that left needle are a little bit larger than I would like. So I'm going to go ahead and agree with the instructions in the chart for the 3-thread super stitch, and I'm going to just move my left needle tension from 4 to 4.5. Okay, and then I'm going to also lower my looper tension to maybe 3.5. Let's try that and see how it looks. I'm going to stitch on the other side of this piece of fabric so we can compare. All right, so I think that that looks nicer. I feel like the looper thread isn't so tight, and I think it's a good tension. Let's look at the wrong side. All right, so from the wrong side, you can see that the left needle thread is really not noticeable anymore. So that little half of a number adjustment for that left needle going from 4 to 4.5 really did make the stitch much nicer. Because like I said, if you compare it to when it was set at 4, you can see those loops a little bit too much at the needle thread. So I think the tension on this one is perfect. And you can see that that lower looper thread is wrapping from top to underneath. And we have a really, really stretchy, wonderful stitch. If you have any questions or comments about the 3-thread super stretch stitch or how it compares to the 3-thread wide stitch, please post your comments below and I will help you. I hope you're enjoying this Bernina L460 Serger Manual series. If you have this serger and you have any specific questions or things you are wondering about, or really if you have any 4-thread serger that you are struggling with something, please post your comments below and I'll add it to my topic list because I love doing Q&A. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying your Sunday, and I'll see you next week for another episode of the Bernina L460 Serger Manual.